say that Oliver Platt is not as reputable about Fabrizio Romano, but he does keep
Hey.
his ear to the ground. And Ollie, you're teasing us, or you have been this morning on our production meeting, that you might have a little more information for us in terms of returning
I
players.
I'd forgotten about this one. Yeah, I'm excited about this. It's sounding like after a season in Sweden came to an end and his contract came to an end there, that Marco Bustos could be back on the cards as a Canadian Premier League player in the not too distant future. So I did wonder about this player coming into 2025, what his future would hold. He's had a good experience in Sweden, played a lot of games in the top league over there. But this is the kind of player that I think, a lot of clubs in the Canadian Premier League would love to bring back, love to make one of the centerpieces of their team and a marquee player in this league. So it sounds like Pacific will be in that mix, as you would expect, and maybe the front runner right now. But multiple clubs circling around Marco Bustos as he potentially looks at returning to the CPL.
Primary kits tonight, that is the blue shirts, the white shorts, and the navy blue socks. They'll work from left to right towards the west end of the stadium in Pacific in their alternate black and whites from right to left. Manny Aparicio, an early goal. It's Marco Bustos on the doorstep to head it in. Just his second of the campaign. Bustos in for Hurd. Bustos keeps on running. It's Josh Hurd floated over Bustos! Double the advantage late in half number one. This Bustos Hurd connection. Marco starts it off. Launches the ball the whole way through Waterhouse. Everyone has an eye on Josh Hurd. It's a brilliant cross and a very difficult finish from Bustos. Sends that the opposite way from Kamar Foster. The link-up play is exceptional. The ball, the finish, everything. Pacific, absolutely perfect.
How's it going, everybody? Yes, that is One Soccer's one and only Oliver Platt reporting in his own Fabrizio Romano way, like Adam Jenkins just said, that Marco Bustos, according to what he knows, will be making the return to CPL. Now, he spent the last couple years, 2 seasons or so, in Sweden with Van Armo, and he had his good moments, he had his bad moments, but then at the same time, it's a club that was always competing for relegation and trying to stay up in the top tier of Swedish football. He helped them stay in the top division, but sadly, do you really want that as a career for the rest of your life? Probably not. Second tier in Sweden. I know there's a couple other guys. Christianik Ensa also plays in the second division of Sweden, but I think Marco Bustos realized that maybe now it's the time to return home, and I think this has every CPL fan excited because we're talking about someone who, I always thought he was a baller. When he was at the Vancouver Whitecaps, I thought he was always a baller. But just like many other Canadians at that time, they just didn't get a chance. He went on multiple loans. He even went on loans to Mexico. And then he said, okay, I'm absolutely tired of this. And so then he officially makes the move to USL. He ends up being in Oklahoma. I'm an American, so I could say that, yikes. Imagine being a Canadian born in Vancouver, or not born in Vancouver, obviously, but playing in Vancouver and then moving to Oklahoma. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Sorry, people, if you're watching this from Oklahoma. But then the CPL gets announced. His hometown club, Valor FC in Winnipeg, calls him in, brings him in. And I would argue that in the first years of Valor's existence, he was the only reason why Valor were relevant at that point in time, because clearly he was too good respect to Valor fans, you are way better now. Obviously, weren't good enough to make it into the playoffs last season, but I do think you have a chance this season more than most teams. But in those early days, I think we can all agree Valor was not good, and Marco Bustos was the only positive thing for that club. And then he makes that move to Pacific, where then finally you could actually see this guy play at an MVP best in league level with a team at the time with Mattia Aparicio and Dadich and Callum Irving, and then Diaz. So it's just you had all these players that were actually a championship team. You got to be a part of an actual championship team, and then long and behold, 2021 comes around and they win at the time the CPL Shield, but now the North Star Cup. I am absolutely stoked that he's potentially coming back to the CPL. Oliver Platt has insisted that Pacific are probably the front runners just because that relationship. But I'm obviously going to talk about York United, and I think that York United has a much more bigger need for him than Pacific. Obviously, Brian Wright has moved on to Forge, and with Mo presumably going to move there as well, based on what we've seen from his Insta and with them and team training, and now with Brian out in Mexico, which is interesting. But everything indicates that Mo is going to be a Forge player, or at the very least, not a York United player for this upcoming season. So we obviously got Batar from Vancouver FC, pretty nifty signing. But if we can add Bustos, you can play him on the left. You can play him like left wing, right wing, center attacking mid. Like he could play all three of those positions, and I think he could be the best in the league as a 10. I think if Marco Bustos in general comes back to the CPL, he has the potential to be the best number 10 in the league now, especially with Bassett now leaving Ottawa. I think there's a chance that he could be the best 10 in the league. So I hope he chooses York United. York United needs him the most. Also, York United just has more roster space, which means probably a little bit more money to bring a guy like Marco Bustos in compared to Pacific, where they didn't necessarily get rid of a lot of people, but they also lost a couple key players. So maybe the fees and the money from that will be able to get a Marco Bustos. And who knows, maybe Marco Bustos doesn't even go to York United or Pacific. What happens if he somehow joins Valor again, or he goes out to Halifax, who seem to be building a championship team again? Like, who knows? Even Ottawa, like I said, Ollie Bassett's now in the USL at Tampa Bay, so maybe Ottawa goes after him. Who knows? There's a lot of teams in contention. I obviously like to see him at York United at York Lions Stadium. Where would you want to see the almighty Marco Bustos play? And may the best one win. I just sure hope it's York. So exciting news. We'll see where Marco Bustos lands, and please choose York.